Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the How to Become a Teacher in South Africa webinar. My name is Danica Saunders. I am the event coordinator for SACAP, and I will be your host this afternoon. Joining us this afternoon, we have Mhlanga, who is currently pursuing a Master of Education degree in Educational Psychology at Wits University. This is complemented by her PGCE qualification from SACAP and an honors degree in applied psychology from UNISA. Cesar is passionate about nurturing young hearts and minds and has gained valuable experience in providing support in the classroom and fostering an inclusive environment for all students. Then we will hear from Charlene Wessels, who is an educational psychologist registered with the HPCSA. She has years of experience within various school environments, government and private, as well as in the private practice industry. She has a private practice based in Durbanville, where she works with children, teenagers, and parents. She is also an educator at SACAP. Now, without any further ado, I will hand over to Cesar. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sizalobuhle Mhlanga, and I'll be discussing the SACE registration and the overview of the PGCE. I'll start with the registration for the South African citizens. As a South African citizen, to register for SACE, you need your matric certificate, especially if you're a first-time applicant. So if maybe your matric certificate got lost or you misplaced it, you have to apply for it on time so that when you apply for SACE, it will be issued by then. And then you also need your undergraduate degree. Remember, for PGCE students to do a PGCE, you need to have done a degree, an undergrad degree. So you need that degree as well as your PGCE. You also need your academic transcripts for the undergraduate and also for the PGCE. You need your identity document and also the SACE registration form. And for this form, you get it from the SACE offices. When you get there, they give you the form and then you have to fill it there and then submit it. You also need your police clearance. So usually SACAP helps the students apply for the police clearance. So you don't need to go and queue in the police station for the police clearance. They help you with the process. And all your documents need to be certified, especially with your academic transcripts. Remember, they have the university letterhead. They also have the university stamp, but with SACE, that is not enough. They need to be certified at the police station. So ensure that all your documents are certified and then you won't struggle with registration. And then I'll move next to the registration for foreign nationals. If you're a foreign national working in South Africa, you will need your matric certificate if you studied in South Africa. And then if you studied in your country of origin, you will need a SACA evaluation certificate. And for you to acquire this SACA evaluation certificate, you'll need to take your foreign certificates to the SACA offices. The one I know is in Pretoria. You have to take it there and then they evaluate your foreign certificates to the South African standards. So that evaluation certificate, you need it in place of the matric certificate. And then you also need your passport with the worker's permit. So, okay, to go back a bit, with the South African citizens, your SACE certificate is valid as long as you can practice. And then I'll continue with the registration for the foreign nationals. With the worker's permit, so if you register with the foreign with foreign certificates or with your passport as a foreign national, you will need a worker's permit. So your SACE registration is only valid for the duration of your worker's permit. So if your worker's permit is valid for 5 years, then your SACE registration will be valid for 5 years. So after renewing your worker's permit, you can then also go and renew your SACE registration. And then for foreign nationals, registration for SACE is 400 rands. You also need police clearance as well. You need your undergraduate, PGCE certificates and their transcripts. And yeah, I spoke about the validity of the holder's permit. And then I'll move on to the PGCE requirements. Okay, the PGCE is offered in the SACAP's Johannesburg and Cape Town campuses only for now. So not that Pretoria and Durban do not offer the PGCE yet. And it's a full-time program, so you're expected to attend your classes on a daily basis. You sit in class, do your classwork, and you have homework. Like, it's a full-time program. All that you do in a full-time class, you do it when you're doing your PGCE at SACAP. And then you specialize in senior and FET phases. So they do not offer the foundation phase and intermediate phases. You only specialize in senior and FET phases, meaning you can teach grade 7s to 12. That's the age group that they cover for now. And you'll be specializing in teaching English as a home language and life orientation. And then it is an NQF level 7, accredited by SACA, the Council of Higher Education, and approved by the Department of Higher Education and Training. So studying at SACAP, you'll be assured that you have a valid and reliable qualification. So it's not a qualification that's not registered, whereby when you start looking for employment, you'll be told that it's not valid. So this one is a legit qualification. And it is a postgraduate qualification. So it is done by people who've graduated before. So you need to have your undergrad, even if you have an honors as well, but you need a degree first before you can do a PGCE, because it is a postgraduate. So with it's mostly done by people who studied the arts or the social sciences degrees. But to be sure, and whether the qualification you hold can allow you to study for this, you can inquire with the admissions office, and then they will help you whether you qualify for it or not. And it is equivalent to the Bachelor of Education. So there are no differences between a PGCE holder and a BEd holder when you go to the workplace. It is also advantageous to have a PGCE. Remember, for the skills purposes, remember, if you studied a different degree and then now you studying education, you are skilled in different fields. That also helps benefit your learners and yourself as well in the workplace. Okay, and then I'll move over to the curriculum offered at SACAP for PGCE. The curriculum ensures that it is structured in a way that you get your practical experience, meaning that with the qualification, as much as you go to class every day and study, you also do practicals at schools. So you go to schools 2 times in that year. The duration of the PGCE is a year full time. So it's February until November or December. So in that duration, you go to the schools twice and do your practicals. The practical experience helps you especially with going to the schools, you can opt for going to maybe first a public school and then also a private school, but that will depend on your interests. So you can choose the schools that you want to go to. And that also helps in knowing yourself as an individual. Remember, we're all different. We function in different settings. So you get to learn more about yourself, which setting best suits you. So for me, I went to first to the private school, and then second practicals, I went to the public school. And then that really helped me in for career purposes. I knew which one was the best fit for me as an individual. So it helps. And also getting the practical experience, it helps you transfer your theory into practical. Remember, in class, you just being taught how to teach. And then when you go to the schools, now you're implementing those things that they have taught you. You have to deal with the learners. You have to implement your class management skills. It helps you also to grow. You given a mentor, you assigned a mentor when you go to the schools. So those mentors are teachers that you learn from. And as much as you can learn from them, you're still a unique individual. Sometimes you can try to implement their class management skills and then you see they're not working. So you have to also try yours and see how you can deal with the students in later when you're employed. And you also learn from experienced educators. As I've mentioned before, that you get mentors. So you don't only learn from only your mentor, because remember the schools are big, so you get to learn from different people, different personalities, and how they all conduct this thing of teaching. And it helps you with making connections when you go to the schools. Try to put yourself out there, because you're doing it for yourself. Those connections may come in handy later in your career, because we need each other. And when you know someone may refer you to something, and then that will make your career journey a lot easier. So put yourself out there. If you get to the schools, maybe you're not a social person. Some of the people are not, but do something. If you can't speak, join the extracurricular activities. Put yourself out there. Let the other teachers know that there's a student teacher and they doing this and that. And that way you'll get to connect with a lot of people. And there's also reflective practice. You learn how to reflect the way the curriculum is designed. There's a lot of reflective essays that you're still gonna write. And also when you go to the schools when you teach, you have to compile a portfolio. So you teach the classes, there's other classes that need to be recorded. When you make your lesson plan and then you teach, after that, after teaching a lesson, there's a section whereby you have to reflect on how the lesson went. So you learn from that, even from your mistakes, how the learners were during your teaching, and then it helps you learn. And then there's increased employability. With this one, it helps because with SACAP, you do not only learn how to teach, but you also acquire soft skills. So skills like empathy, communication skills, and also teamwork, which are skills that are very important in the workplace. Okay, and then I'll move on to the career guidance and counseling module that is offered at SACAP. Okay, this module is designed to help you, the teacher, to be able to navigate the teaching. Remember, there is life orientation as well that's offered. So you guys will be teaching life orientation. And as life orientation teachers, you get to speak with the learners on a deeper level compared to, for an example, a math teacher. So with these skills, you'll be able to connect with the learners. With the enhanced personality development, you help them find their strengths, their weaknesses, their abilities, and you help them in a way, you help them choose the best careers that they're suited for their personalities and their abilities. And then you also help them with stress management. To remember, the learners are going through a lot, sometimes at home, sometimes within the classroom. So you help them, even with things like time management, you help them plan their time so that they reduce their stress levels. Yes, and then there's helpful in social interactions. You help your learners with especially communication, with communicating with other learners during the classwork, the group works. There's also your role plays. You learn how to do role plays and then implement that in the learners, and those things, those skills, they help them in the future. And also helpful in achieving success in academics. You help your students in planning. You help them in even in CV writing with the grade 11s. I think it's grade 11s, whereby they also have a role play whereby they interview each other on it's like a role play for interview. So they take turns, the one becomes the interviewer, the one becomes the interviewee. So they learn how to carry themselves, even in the interview, what to do and what not to do. So it is a good program if you choose to study with SACAP. You will not only learn how to teach, but you'll get different skills that will be helpful in your career as you move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Caesar. I'm Charlene Wessels. As Danica previously introduced me, I'm an educational psychologist and I'm also an educator for SACAP. And I'm really excited to have this presentation with you because it really is about, yes, we now know what the requirements is of the PGCE, but I would just want to remind you, some of you maybe grew up thinking, I want to be a teacher. Right? And this is so exciting. Some of you may only have realized now that you want to be a teacher. I can tell you that I only realized that I wanted to go into the education field in my 3rd year of studies. So when you get to that stage and you think to yourself, wow, I really want to do this. I've got a passion for this. I want to work with kids. It's such a lovely feeling to have. But I think the question that I want to ask you and something that I really want you to think about is, in terms of becoming a teacher, what does it mean? What does it actually mean to be a teacher? And then what is it about in terms of being a good teacher? How are we good teachers? What makes us good teachers? If I just think about this, thinking about a teacher, I'm sure that each of you can remember the one teacher you had in school that you can remember. Maybe it was someone that took some time to speak to you. Maybe it was someone that you related to, someone that gave you some positive encouragement. And maybe it's time for you to be in that position. You know, once you have finished your studies, once you're in the classroom, to think for yourself, wow, but I'm going to be someone that's going to encourage someone else. I'm going to be someone that they're going to remember for the rest of their life. And that's what's so powerful about becoming a teacher and going into this field of work. Moving on, I think the biggest thing when you get to the classroom and when you're busy with your practice, in the PGCE, and then also once you have your qualification, it's just, you're going to get a bit of a shock because now you're in your classroom for the first time alone. And I think the biggest thing that you just have to remember is you're going to be okay. You can do it. I think no one is in this profession and in the education profession if you can't do it, if you don't know that you have a passion, you want to work with the kids, etc. So something that I want you to remember and really take control of and hold of is that you are your own unique person. you are the teacher that you become and the teacher that you will be with time. So if we move on, I think the biggest message that I want to leave you with today is to go out there and really become the best. And I really hope with today's little presentation and the things that I'm going to be sharing that you get some ideas of how you can be the best and you know, the process that you're going to go through and the teacher's journey. It really is a journey because you learn a lot about yourself, you learn a lot about the kids. And this is what I really want to leave you with is you can be the best teacher out there. And I think we all strive for that. And that's really important. So if we move on, students aren't the only ones that learn in the classroom. This is a very important thing because I think every single day when you go into your class, you're constantly learning from the students. You're learning about what has happened to them. Maybe on the way to school, they experience something. You are constantly faced with different personalities. So there's a constant learning that's happening in the classroom. And this is not just you teaching, but it is you learning from your students as well. And this is what's so great about the teaching profession is that every day presents opportunities for us to increase our knowledge, not just about the subject content, but how do the kids understand what we are trying to teach them? How is it that they share knowledge that maybe they have learned? I mean, think about technology. Sure, the kids these days know so much more than we do, and having that opportunity to actually learn and also share, I think really it's so useful to have experiences shared in the classroom. So the next thing that I really want to share with you is the skills that make us effective teachers. What is it that makes us effective? I think the biggest thing is definitely persuasion. You are persuading and you are really teaching skills to these kids. Again, it's not just about content, but it's also about life skills. It's also about, you know, explaining things in comprehensible terms, making sure that they understand. If you know that you have a child in your class that has a learning barrier, to go down to their level and to make sure that they understand and that they can comprehend something. Maybe some of you decided that you want to go into a PGCE because when you were in school, that teacher didn't explain it well enough. Well, this is now your chance. That make you effective as a teacher is to explain things in comprehensible terms. It's also about connecting. Definitely connecting with others. Remember, the kids in your class trust you as a teacher. And again, that's why this profession is such a powerful, powerful one to be in. Inspiring people to work harder and reach further. Constantly, you will be the one that is aspiring and inspiring children to work, to reach further, to reach beyond what they can. And this is what makes us better. All of these attributes make us better friends, family members, partners, and parents. So this is really important to remember. It really is about working on the skill so that you can be the most effective teacher that there is. Then moving on, I think the other thing that's quite important is just what affects the classroom. Okay, so you decide you want to do a PGCE, you're not really sure what's going to happen, you're not really sure what you can expect. There's so many things that affect the classroom, and these are things that we need to remember in practice. So I think the first thing is classroom management. You know, how do you manage a classroom? Maybe it's going to be scary for some of you at first. Is it that you are going to use a very authoritative discipline style, or are you going to be more positive and use a more encouraging teaching style, which is obviously the best for kids? Your teaching style is very, very important, as well as your teaching philosophy. So there's definitely a difference in terms of your teaching philosophy and your teaching style. Your teaching philosophy is really about, why is it that you are in this? You know, what kind of teacher are you? Why did you choose this profession? And the teaching style is about, are you going to be positive? You're not going to discipline in a negative way. those kinds of things. And then, of course, the other thing that affects the classroom is every single child that will sit in front of you will have a different learning style. Some of them like learning visually. Some of them like learning by hearing. So as a teacher, you will really learn ways how to incorporate all of those learning styles, making sure that there isn't one child that's left out. There isn't one child at the back of the class that doesn't understand or isn't able to learn fully from you. And then other things that affect the classroom is obviously emotions. So you can have a child that comes to class and they were involved in a hijacking before they reached school. Or maybe they were late, or maybe, something happened in their family. And all of these emotions and things happen, and we need to remember that it affects the classroom. So for you to be a successful teacher, you'll also learn ways in how to manage emotions, how to be aware of other people's emotions as well. And then, of course, culture plays a big role. All of us come from different cultures. All of us come from different backgrounds. All of those things affect the class as well as experiences we have. And then, of course, the consequences we have in the discipline that we show. If a child struggles at home and maybe there isn't discipline at home, you'll also need to take that into consideration when you are teaching. What kinds of consequences do you have? And then the question is, but, how do we do this? How do we manage? You will be learning a lot of things in the program. These are just some pointers in terms of what affects the classroom and what we need to be aware of. In moving on, I just want to speak a little bit about how we can build an inclusive classroom. So yes, you have the theory, you're going to go through the degree, you're going to know how to be a teacher, but how do we make sure that there isn't a child that's left out? I think this is quite an important thing. So there's a few things that I want to talk about. The first one is mindfulness. I think it's so important that, we remind children that they need to be present. They need to be present in the classroom, forget everything that happened on the way to school. So one of the things that I really enjoy doing is I let the kids sit in the class and I say to them, okay, we're just going to think quickly about 5 things that we can see in the class. What can we hear? What can we feel? What can we touch? What do I smell? What can I taste? So just bringing them back to the senses and the sensory experience of being in the class and the here and now. That helps them to focus and just to make sure that they are present and they are in the situation and they know that they are safe. They are safe now with you as teacher. The other suggestion definitely is an emotion chart. So what some teachers do is when the students walk in, there'd be like little faces of the different emotions. So maybe there's a sad face, an angry face, a happy face, a worried face. And then each student comes in and chooses, this is how I'm feeling today. That also gives you an idea of the sense of what's happening in the classroom, which is really, really nice. And then the other suggestion is definitely once they come in and once they are sitting in your class to co-create classroom rules. They need to really buy into the rules of the classroom because that also helps them in terms of building their values and also seeing, okay, for this person, this is so important. It's very important that I can trust people. For example, it's very important that if someone doesn't do what they are told, I am safe. I can go to my teacher. I can tell my teacher, for an example. And then, of course, to design learning activities that allow for multiple ways to participate. It's very important that we give all of the students different ideas and ways in participation. Some of them, especially if you may be going to be involved in more special needs schools, some of them can't participate like another peer. So there's a lot of tools available, assistive technology, for example, as well for the kids that really struggle, which is also wonderful to learn about. And then, of course, to use culturally responsive teaching materials and examples, to have empathy and social emotional skills. The chart that I told you about in terms of when the kids come into the class and then they identify an emotion. That is a social and emotional skill that actually helps them to learn, you know what, it's good to be able to talk about emotions. I don't need to hide it. So if I am angry, if I am scared, I can share it with my peers. They are there to support me. So school really needs to feel like a safe space. And for some kids, school is the only safe space they have. And that's also something we need to remember. So the impact that teachers make and have is very, very powerful. And then lastly, I think the biggest thing here in terms of techniques and the inclusive classroom for me is it's important that we celebrate progress and not only achievements. There's a lot of times that, you know, I hear of teachers that always say, oh, Bobby got 70%, Sandy got 80%. But what about that child that went up with 10%, even though it's still in the 50s? That child actually progressed so much. So it's very important that we remember as teachers, once you are qualified, to celebrate the progress that kids make and not only the achievements. And then moving on from this, the biggest thing that's also important to remember is that we need to be able to navigate students, we need to be able to navigate colleagues. You know, it's quite important to know, how do we work with the students in our class? How do we work with colleagues? How do we behave as teachers, you know, in the staff room? What do we do? So there are some challenges within the schooling environment, of course. A lot of the time, I think the biggest thing is we don't always know, do we speak about children in the corridors? You know, it does happen in some instances. Do we, how do we help the child? How do we make sure that this child is supported? How do we make sure that our colleagues are supported? You must also remember that even though once you get your qualification and you are qualified, it doesn't mean that you're an island. You can still ask for assistance. You can still ask for help. There should be a mentor that's going to be assisting you in your teaching journey, which is really, really important as well. So I want to talk about inspirational learning. There's a big difference between being inspirational and being instructional. What I really would like you to do as teachers is to inspire every day, inspire the children in your class. You want them to go through school, you want them to reach heights, you want them to reach a career and a journey that they're really looking forward to. That's why we're doing this. This is why we become teachers. This is our passion. The other way to really navigate the challenges in the school environment is definitely with diligent planning. So when you are a teacher, there's a lot of responsibilities. So you are going to be involved with extramurals, you're going to have to prepare lessons, you're going to have meetings with the headmaster, your colleagues, teachers, on a daily or weekly basis. You are going to be involved in departmental head meetings. You're going to have to set tests. There's a lot of things that need to happen, and you can do it, but you need to plan. I think that's really, really important. If your time management is in place, you will be okay. Also, just being prepared, you know, being prepared every day, knowing on your day-to-day, this is what I need to do today, this is my plan, I'm going to be able to manage. That's also really important. And I think, you know, the biggest important thing that I really want to get across to you is always go into the teaching practice as a professional. You are becoming a professional. You are becoming a teacher. It's a very, very powerful role. And remember to maintain the ethical boundaries. You will be registered with SACE, which means that you will be accountable in terms of you are a professional person. So it's very important that you have that professionalism with colleagues, that the kids in your class respect you as a teacher. It's very important. You're not there to be the children's friends. You are there as a teacher. You are there as support. Yes, they can talk to you about anything because you are the the main person that they have contact with. But it's very important that you don't cross the boundary between being friends and a teacher. So that's just in terms of the ethical boundaries when you go into the teaching practice. And then the other thing that's very important in terms of challenges in the school environment is collaboration. Collaborate with your colleagues. Some teachers will say, you know what, I'm really struggling with this child in my class. He's disruptive the whole time. I don't know what to do. Ask for assistance. Ask to maybe go on a workshop, a course on classroom management if you need to. Speak to someone that has a little bit more experience, like an older teacher or someone that maybe has dealt with a similar child in the class. It's very important to use the support structure that is available in the school where you are. And then time management, like I said, that is crucial. You have to manage your time well. You need to make sure that you know when the deadlines are. You need to make sure that you know what is happening in the school, when the extramurals are, etc. And the biggest thing to really overcome challenges is to participate. Participate in everything. Do what you need to do. Participate in the extramurals. Participate in the classes that you have. I can't tell you the importance of the connection that kids have with teachers on the sport field. It's so wonderful to sometimes see a child say, oh, you know what? Mrs. Naidu came and watched my rugby game. But Mrs. Naidu actually teaches me geography. That connection that some kids have with teachers is amazing. And again, I come back to this is why we study this. This is why we have a passion for this. And go beyond when necessary. You know, if you have the capacity to go beyond, do that. Be there for them, because that is what they need from you as teachers. It's not just about the content, it's about more than that. And the last thing that I really want to touch on is just if you see in your class that, you know, there is a child that is struggling, there is a child that is really struggling to read, a child that's maybe struggling to write, they maybe have a barrier to learning, especially in the mainstream school environments, refer them. We as teachers, we can do a lot, but sometimes we need to refer to the specialist to make sure that the child gets the help they need. And the parents will be so thankful when you do that. So this is how I suggest we navigate our students and colleagues and all of the challenges that the schooling environment presents, definitely. Moving on from this, that becoming a teacher is a transformative journey. It's a whole journey that starts, it never ends. And I think that's what's so important is, yes, you're going to finish your PGCE, but you're going to be continuously learning. So the first part of the journey, of course, is the education and training that Sizalobuhle spoke to us about. The next thing is, oh, now I have classroom, I've got a classroom in front of me, I need to help the kids participate, I need to participate. Then, of course, you are teaching. And perhaps you also have a mentor that would mentor you as a teacher. What is the next step in your teaching career? What are you going to be doing? Perhaps you become a head of department. You know, perhaps you decide later on in your teaching career, I'm going to go into management. Maybe it's your dream to become a principal of a school. There's so many opportunities in this field. So teaching and mentoring is part of the journey. And then, of course, professional development. So we are continuously developing ourselves. If you know that, you know, something that you need training in, for example, is emotional intelligence for the class, then you'd go on a workshop, you do that. So what is also important in terms of the teaching journey is you are also responsible for getting CEU. So those are points to make sure that your professional development is on par, which is really exciting because you can learn a lot. And then the last part of the teaching journey that really is continuous is the impact you are making and reflection. So every single day after your teaching day, you would sit and you would reflect and you think to yourself, did I make a difference today? What difference can I make tomorrow? What happened today? You can also reflect on like a month or after the term is done. What did you achieve as a teacher? That's a really, really important part of becoming a teacher. So as you can see, it is a journey, but it's an exciting journey. And it really is wonderful to have you think about the possibilities of you completing the PGCE and going forward in your teaching career.
Thank you so much, Cesar and Charlene, for sharing your insights. I'm sure that our attendees have a much better understanding of what it takes to become a teacher in South Africa. Please do follow us on our various social media channels to stay up to date on upcoming events, program launches, and any of the other updates, and to see the recording to this webinar, of course. Once again, thank you to our attendees and our lovely panelists for joining us this afternoon, and we hope you have a lovely day further.